Coming to you from Milwaukee, Wisconsin by way of Stone Mountain, Georgia, birthed by the great state of South Carolina, is the Bryant Land Country Podcast, your place for any and everything in hunting, fishing, sports, and outdoor related, with heavy doses of randomness, guests, and an all-around good time. Here's your host, proud Gamecock, South Carolina forever, AB3.
All right, now everybody, welcome to the Bryant Land Country Podcast. Thank you for taking the time to hit that download button on whatever platform you choose to consume your podcast audio. We greatly appreciate it. Just a quick reminder, if you're listening to us on that Apple Podcast deal, make sure you hit those 5 stars and leave us a sterling rating and review. This week, I have a guest for you guys. I've been looking at the past podcasts for this month so far, and it has occurred to me that you guys really do not care about what I think as far as like on different topics and just me going along and talking and giving my opinion and stating my experiences and stuff. I shouldn't say you don't care, but according to the numbers, you guys like guests better than just having me. So I listen. I am responding. I have a guest this week. He is a wildlife biologist from the state of Colorado. His name is Eeland Stribling. We had a wonderful conversation. I brought him on because I wanted to talk to him simply because he is a comedian and a wildlife biologist, a very accomplished fisherman. So that's why I got Eeland Stribling on the podcast here today. So I'm going to fall back. You guys kick back and listen to my conversation with Eeland Stribling on the Bryant Land Country Podcast. So I got Eeland Stribling on the line, and I've been thumbing through your page, and like I said, when we first got on the phone, one of the things that drew me to your page is looks like you do a lot of comedy along with your fishing, and I had Josh Carney on a few episodes ago. In addition to his hunting and expeditions and hunting videos and stuff, he also does comedy. So I'm always drawn to guys that are actually getting out there and doing stand-up comedy. But before we get into all of that, I really need you to explain to me being on bear call and chasing mountain lions out of town, because we've been trying for a couple times to put this together. And, one time we were going to do it and you said, I'm sorry, I've been on bear call all day. When I'm not doing that, I'm chasing mountain lions out of town. So what is it exactly you do, and where are you? I know you said Colorado, but, let folks know where are you and what exactly are you doing?
Yeah, man, I'm originally from Denver, Colorado. Once I graduated from Colorado State University last December with a degree in wildlife biology. So I've always been, drawn to natural resources, drawn to the outdoors, drawn to wildlife, and just being immersed in nature. And I got a position about maybe a month or so ago with the Colorado Parks and Wildlife, which is just a state agency that handles wildlife and a lot of the state parks and stuff like that. My title of my position is Nuisance Wildlife Technician in my area, which is Area 2, which is I work from Boulder, Colorado, kind of southern Boulder, Colorado, all the way to Fort Collins, Colorado, and then a little bit east and west of that. I mean, you described it. That's my job. I wake up in the morning, I'll get text and email alerts about bears in the cities, bears in people's backyards, bears in trees. Today I had a raccoon call where I had to go pick up a raccoon and relocate them. And then, if someone sees a mountain lion while they're hiking or while they're backpacking or, in their tree or in their yard sleeping or whatever, then I have to go either, watch for them and try to scare them away, haze them away, or I help tranquilize them and put them in a cage and see if we can't relocate them to another part of the state or another part of the area that's not so concentrated. So there's some days I work 14, 16 hours a day, most of the time just sitting, watching bears, going to check on bears, going to check on roadkill, relocating bears. And some days were like today I was in the office most of the day looking up fishing spots, and then I had a raccoon call and a bear call. And all I did was went caught the raccoon and relocated them, and then went and checked on a cub bear that's been roaming around Boulder and made sure he wasn't getting into trash or anything. And, if they're not a problem, if they're not hurting anyone, if they're just in the city, then we try not to really tranquilize them and relocate them. We just kind of scare them back to the woods, to the forest. But if we can, we try to capture them and make sure it's a unpleasant experience and make a lot of noise and stuff like that. So that way they don't want to come back to eat people's garbage. So that's my job.
Right.
I don't know how I got it, but no day has been dull so far.
Well, that's always a good thing. I mean, anytime you can work a job that, you know, keeps you motivated and that's not boring, that's always a good thing. And I mean, you're working in the outdoors. So what made you decide to major into that?
Yeah, I wanted to be, I've always loved animals. Even my name, Eeland, my first name, it means largest African antelope. So I've always just have a inclination to wildlife and being outdoors and animals and stuff. And growing up, I wanted to be a vet. You know, I was that bright-eyed kid that was like, I'm going to be a vet and I'm going to save all the animals. And then once I, you know, started taking vet classes my freshman year of college, I was like, yeah, I don't want to do this. And so then I kind of looked around my school and looked for different opportunities and found that there was a natural resources college, and there was everything from fish science to, you know, habitat management to conservation science. And I finally stuck with wildlife biology and learned as much as I could and loved it. And now this is what I do every day.
Nice. Now, were your parents, you know, big in the outdoors, or your dad and mom big in the outdoors? You know, like you said, your name, you know, coming from largest African antelope, were they big outdoor folks?
Not really. I mean, everyone in my family, most of my family is from Louisiana and Chicago, and like from the cities, you know, and no one really was ever big in the outdoors or camping or fishing or hiking. But my grandfather, he was a wildlife biologist.
Nice.
In South Africa, and then he worked for the Division of Wildlife here in Colorado. So, and he was the only, in his agency at the time, he was the only black employee. So, I mean, I could walk into any Colorado Parks and Wildlife office and see someone who worked here 30 years ago and be like, hey, do you know my grandfather? They're like, Theodore Washington. And I'm like, yeah, that's him. So he's the one that named me. He's the one that taught me how to fish and fly fish and just like how to identify species. And he's a big bird guy. So I grew up looking at birds, and I still am not as good as him, but, you know, bird calls and all that. So I think he's the original Black Steve Irwin, but he let me have his name.
It's funny because that's a perfect segue, because I was going to ask you, how did you come up with the name, the Black Steve Irwin? So it was basically off from your grandfather?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Steve Irwin is like one of the dopest people that's ever lived. I mean, I grew up watching his show with my grandfather, and so I grew up watching, the Crocodile Hunter when I was younger, and that was like my go-to show no matter what time I got home or whatever. And so I've always been inspired by conservation, and education is another big part, and Steve Irwin, I think, embodies that. And then, you know, I'm not afraid of who I am or my culture or where I come from and stuff. So I put in Black Steve Irwin on Instagram, and no one else had it, and I was like, all right, well, I can't never get rid of it now.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So you said that your grandfather started you with fishing and stuff. I've never, fished in Colorado. So you do like a lot of fly fishing? That what I understood that you said?
Yeah, that's I didn't start fly fishing until my freshman year of college. So 6 years ago. But growing up, he would take me just regular spin fishing, and like those old stories where you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning with your grandfather, and he's listening to blues music, and you guys head to the lake and set up and then just hang out all day. And that was, I spent the first 16 years of my life just doing that with him.
Wow.
And we would catch everything from, panfish to, from my recollection, I could never remember getting a good sized bass. So it was always little bass, but he would catch catfish, carp, all of it, trout. And then once I got into fly fishing and once I got into wildlife biology, I really became like more fascinated with fishing and fish cultures and fish hatcheries and everything from warm water species, saltwater species, freshwater, cold water species. So I don't know, in a very weird way, everything's kind of just like fallen into line where I just love what I do every day, and I get to geek out with other people.
Right. Like I said, anytime you get a job that you absolutely love, it definitely makes, life going through a lot easier. So in your position, what's the craziest thing that you've seen? Like what's the craziest thing, or like the craziest experience you've had in your job position?
So I probably so far only 2 of them. It's only been about a month. I mean, cool stuff has happened, but nothing like super crazy. One time I was in Boulder, Colorado, and there was a mountain lion call, and there were, I don't know, 150 people like standing around this corner, and we're all looking. So we like turn the corner, and there's a dead bobcat on the top of this like electricity pole, and it's like completely limp. We like look at it with the binoculars, like it's dead. And you can kind of see where it got singed a little bit. And then we're like walking up to it, and we're like, how the hell did that happen? And then we get closer to the power pole, and there's a dead mountain lion at the base of the power pole. So we're assuming the bobcat was trying to get away from the mountain lion, went up the pole and got electrocuted. And then the mountain lion had singed scars all over its body, like it had, touched the wires, and its paws were all burnt.
Wow.
I've never seen a mountain lion that close, and I mean it's a 130-pound animal.
Right. Right.
And all the animals we've seen, I mean, even some pretty bad roadkill stuff, just all the animals are so pretty, but when humans and wildlife come into conflict with stuff like that, like it most of the time doesn't turn out that great. So that was pretty crazy. And then we have a whitetail fawn that's being raised right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't see it personally, but the biologist that picked her up, she was inside her mother's womb, and the mother got hit by a motorcycle and killed instantly, and the baby was like born by force. When the motorcycle hit the mother, the baby was born prematurely. And so the wildlife biologist like found the lamb and has been like raising it ever since. So
wow.
I mean, that's pretty.
So
yeah.
So you guys induced labor, or are you saying like the accident made?
Yeah, like the driver said, like when he hit the pregnant doe, he like hit it broadside, like you were almost if you were shooting to kill it, like right in the like heart lungs area. He said he hit it broadside, kind of right in the stomach, and then went to go check on her after he got up, and the baby wasn't in there, and then the baby was like down the waves a little bit in a grassy field, born premature, but now is living life. So he induced labor with a motorcycle. So
wow.
Yeah.
Man.
It just shows you how badass some of these animals are, that you can be hit by a motorcycle, like that's how you're born. So
right. And I mean, people, and I've heard stories, of deer taking different shots and taking, from 30-06s and then having broadheads stuck in them. People highly underestimate how tough, these deer are. I mean, it's truly remarkable.
Yeah, any sort of game species or prey species, I mean, they're built to survive. So
now, having, seen all that and being around bears and being around, cats and stuff, do you hunt? Do you go on any bear hunts or, cougar hunts or anything like that? Or you just pretty much stick to the fishing?
Yeah, I've never been hunting at all. I mean, there were summers where I would go down to Mississippi with, family members or whatever on vacation, and we would shoot squirrels in my great uncle's backyard, and he would do with whatever he wanted with them. But I've never been on a small pheasant hunting, bird, big game, nothing like that. And it's not like I'm opposed to it. I've just never had that opportunity. There was no one in my family that was like, hey, I'm going to teach you how to hunt. I'm going to teach you how to shoot a gun. I'm going to teach you how to skin an animal and use different parts of the meat and stuff. So I plan on it. Like this next year, I plan on hopefully getting to Montana and hanging out with some friends who, go black bear hunting. I think would be really dope. And I just have a bunch of friends in Colorado who shoot waterfowl, and I think I'm going to be into that. So yeah, once the opportunity presents itself, I'm there. I just haven't had the chance to do it yet.
No, I've never bear hunted. I've had a few people, trying to get me into bear hunting, my taxidermist being one, and then Ryan, the Buddha that I had on a few podcasts ago, he's trying to get me to put in a tag and actually go bear hunting. My biggest thing with bears is, hunting something that is pretty much trained to kill. Yeah. Even though they say the black bears, it's not like going grizzly hunting or
Right.
anything like that. But I don't know. I'm slowly coming around to it. So I don't know. I can tell you though, waterfowl hunting, duck hunting, goose hunting and stuff. That's very addictive.
Yeah.
So tread with caution because once you go and you actually enjoy it, man, you're going to want to go a lot and you're going to want to go often. I mean, it's fun and it's addictive.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, and I like that you have that respect for bears instead of just going out and being like, oh, I'm just going to kill one.
No, bears and cougars, like my taxidermist, he just came back about a month ago from a bear hunt, a cougar hunt in Utah, and then a bear hunt, I think in Saskatchewan or somewhere in Canada. He went on a black bear hunt. And like I said, getting out here, fooling with deer and turkeys and hogs, and that's one thing. But now you're talking about a preying animal, animals that are instilled with millions of years of instinct to hunt. Yeah, and bears and cats can climb trees. So I don't know how I feel, my taxidermist, he was like, oh, I just think you're scared. Well, you can think that, but I wouldn't say scared. I call it a healthy fear for animals that are, like I said, have a 1,000,000-year head start on me when it comes to survival and hunting. Right. So I don't know. Yeah. Maybe one day, I might give it a try, but right now I'm still on the fence.
Have you ever eaten bear or mountain lion? Because I've never have.
No, and it's funny because I haven't really ever talked to anybody that's had mountain lion. Ryan claims that he can make bear meat taste amazing. It's 50-50. I've heard some people say that bear meat is like the pits, and then I've heard some people say like, oh, it's awesome. And, like I said, Ryan claims he can make the hinds, the butt, the roast, part and the shoulder part. He can get those turned into a ham and you could never tell the difference. Like I said, I've never tasted it. I don't know. So, and that's the other thing too. Like, if you kill a bear or you kill a cat or whatever, I don't begrudge anybody that wants to go on those type of hunts. But in theory, for me, the animals that I hunt, I enjoy eating. Right, I enjoy eating wild hogs. I enjoy eating deer and turkeys and, ducks and geese and whatnot. And like I said, I'm not knocking anybody, that wants to go on those hunts, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Short answer to your question is I don't know about, how the mountain lion or bear would taste. I mean, I guess, the default answer that everybody uses when it comes to wild game is it's all in how you prepare it. So, Yeah. Now, let's get back to, the fishing. Okay, so you said your grandfather was the one that kind of got you into fishing and stuff. Now, do you travel to fish as well, or you keep it right there in Colorado?
I'm working on exploring every nook and cranny of Colorado, and there's a lot of hidden gems here in terms of places and species of mostly cold water fish. I've spent the last couple of days doing some research on the Rio Grande cutthroat trout. I've spent the past couple of days kind of researching and looking at where they originally lived and some of the alpine lakes and the rivers and stuff. And so I like to explore Colorado, but I've also fished in South Africa, off the shore of New Zealand and not New Zealand, Australia, and then New Zealand. Like I said, I think I spent a week in New Zealand. So I've gotten to a few different places, and I fished in like Montana, Idaho. Where else have I fished? Nashville, North Carolina. So if I'm going somewhere for a couple weeks or whatever, I'll bring my 5-weight, some flies that I think would work, and then a little bit of extra material like tippet and leaders, and then I'll just throw it in my suitcase, and if I get a chance to go out, I'll go try to find some fish, and if not, at least I have it with me. So yeah, I'm not like fish specific. I love trout, but I'll catch anything that is willing to take my fly.
I hear that. And you just ride around with your pole, so just in case you come up on somewhere, you can drop a line.
Yep, I have it in the back of my car at the pond, or if someone's pool had a bunch of carp in it, I'd go and get them.
Wow. Wow. So let's circle back to fishing in Africa. Was that with your grandpa? Like, how did that come together?
No, yeah, we went on a trip for my grandmother, I think. Either my mother or my grandmother's birthday celebration. Grandmother's turning 75, so we went to South Africa, and through the power of social media and Instagram, I kind of just sent out a message, and I was like, "Hey, do any of my followers, do I know anyone who knows someone in South Africa?" And this guy hit me back and was like, "Yeah, man, like I like you, and you seem like a cool, good guy, and I'd love to fish with you." And I was like, dope. The whole time I was stressing, like, what do I need to bring? Am I gonna be able to pack this stuff? And he was like, don't worry about it, man. Just if you show up, then I'll come and pick you up in Johannesburg, and we can go fish. And so that's how that happened. Spend the weekend fishing for just rainbow trout in like the African bush or African backyard. I don't really know how to describe it. Right. I was afraid. I was. When you think of Africa, you think of animals, and so I'm thinking like there's gonna be a lion. I'm trying to catch a 10-inch rainbow trout, but there was none of that. There's a lot of pretty birds and few other people on the river, so it was cool to get and chow them for a bit. And then that was my weekend fishing in South Africa. So
man, that sounds exciting. I mean, and definitely, like you said, worrying about the other predators. You're at a water source and lion or something walk up, but it sounds like you guys had a pretty good time and a good safe time.
Yeah, and it was it was cool just talking to people in another country about fishing and how they kind of view public land. And most of the fish that they caught, they returned as well, which I thought I figured that most people would take fish, because I do a lot of catch and release, but if I'm camping or if I'm backpacking, then I'm gonna eat. So it was just kind of cool me kind of seeing that with within people, and then in regards to fishing. So
right. What was some of their takes on just like public land and stuff in South Africa? Like, is it a lot of it? Are they fighting, to keep it, or what kind of takes did they have?
Yeah, well, it's I would say it's more it's maybe not easily protected, but there's more fear of people just going out into the if you're close to the city, then it's fine, but just going out and exploring new water, it's a little different, because there are like the kings of the jungle that could be there, or jaguars or elephants and stuff, or even big herbivores.
Right.
And so, but the way it was set up is like each river has different beats, like sections, and so you have to like be a part of a club, and then if you're a part of the club, you can fish those beats or those sections or whatever. And there's seasons when the water is closed,
mm-hmm.
and then there's seasons when it's open, and you can, if you're part of the club, you can go fish the river or fish the beats. And so it was kind of interesting. It's not public like how we think it's public, where it's like anyone can go and hang out and fish or drink or relax, but it's not private where you're not allowed to go on. You just have to kind of be part of a conservation group, or like a fishing. It's not really a fishing club, but yeah.
Right. And then is there any kind of like licensing and fees to do this, I would assume?
No, like when you're a part of the conservation group, you like pay a fee, but that's it. You don't have to have like the Colorado Parks and Wildlife license or anything like that. So
wow, that's pretty cool. Now, how was New Zealand? Is that pretty much the same type of thing as well?
I think New Zealand might be, and I'm afraid to say this on here, but I think New Zealand might be the most special place to me on this earth. I was there for 9 days. I think I saw 3 other anglers
mm-hmm.
while we were there. And, we rented a van, and we would just drive at night, and then wake up, like fall asleep late, wake up and fish, trout streams where trout have been undisturbed for a long time. And there's,
So it was you and the
30-inch trout.
You and the 3 other anglers that you had just met, or like what was the genesis of the trip?
It was just me and my friend saying, hey, let's go to New Zealand. That's it.
Wow.
It wasn't like a family trip or anything. It was just me and my friend Cody, who's overseas right now. It was just me and him saying, well, like, what do you want to do? Like, let's just take a trip somewhere. And we were like, let's do New Zealand. And then we bought tickets and rented a van, and then went to the grocery store, bought a bunch of food so we could cook and eat. And that was it. We spent 9 days on the water, and you definitely have to buy a license. And the one time we saw I don't know if they're called park rangers or game wardens or whatever. But he did check to see if we had gotten one. So
wow. Did you have to get the license before you left, or
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we like bought it online just to make sure there was no, like, you know, when we showed up we couldn't find a place, or like the moment we land we were like, all right, like where's the first stretch of water we wanted to.
Right.
And we ended up fishing on this guy's land, where he was herding, like where he had like a sheep farm, and we didn't know it was his land because we had started fishing at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and then, you know, he was out there working, and we were like, hey man, sorry, we kind of messed up. Is it okay if we fish here? And he was like, oh yeah, you're good.
Wow.
And so we just spent that evening fishing and catching some very, very memorable fish. So
man, now is that the same deal like in South Africa, like where they have like the public land concerns and stuff like that?
Yeah, there was. With any country or state or city or whatever, you're gonna have like different stakeholders.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, there was definitely the people I was with were concerned about protecting the water, protecting the natural resources, protecting the forest. And then they were, you know, telling stories about companies, organizations that were trying to, you know, build another highway through there, or build another college, or build another whatever, to kind of impede on that. So, you know, from the people I was with, it was more focused on the conservation and the water and the land. And then, of course, there's other people that just want the money side, which, I mean, I could partially understand it in. So.
Right. No, definitely. Man, and how old are you?
24. Wow,
that's awesome. You've been able, 24, and you've already been able to fish New Zealand and South Africa. I mean, man, those are experiences, you know, memories of a lifetime. And at 24 to already have had those, man, that's pretty awesome.
That's probably my favorite part of fishing. There's not much fish, and it kind of sounds cliche, but it's just the people I've gotten to meet, and whether that's, you know, in Montana, in North Carolina, and wherever I've been, just hanging out and meeting people. And then, you know, you meet someone else and you're like, hey, do you know so-and-so? And they're like, yeah, that's a good friend of mine. And then you kind of, I don't know, get like a weird fishing family. Or, you know, a hunting family where maybe some people know spots, but you won't share spots. But if you're part of your fishing family, you may let them in on a secret or poke around about something. So,
right.
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
Yeah, because it definitely can be a pretty closed society kind of thing, whether it comes to your fishing spots or your hunting spots. No, you're right about that. So, tell me about the stand-up comedy. How did you get into that? Like, what made you, you know, do stand-up comedy?
I've always, like you, man, I've always been a fan. So growing up watching Seinfeld when I was very young, or not Seinfeld, not the show Seinfeld, but Jerry Seinfeld's stand-up.
Okay.
And then watching the Chappelle Show, and then Mad TV, and then Cat Williams came out with American Hustle, and whichever stand-up was before that, it's skipping my mind right now. But I've always been a fan of stand-up, and I've always wanted to do it and idolized this dream of selling out theaters and stuff. And then I wrote a bunch of jokes in a notebook, and I was like, I'm going to do it. And I probably spent like 3 years in high school saying I was going to do it. And then my freshman year didn't do it. My sophomore year didn't do it. My junior year didn't do it. And the second semester, I was like, well, like, I think I'm funny. No one else thinks I'm funny. But, I enjoy talking in front of big groups of people. I love talking in front of crowds of people, whether that be, you know, 10 people or 100 if I get the chance. And I've never been afraid of public speaking and stuff. And so one night it was January 19th, MLK's birthday, January 19th or 16th of 2018, and went to an open mic, and I bombed. Like, I got no laughs. There was nothing.
Right.
And it was like a music open mic, so it was like there was music, and then you could do whatever you else. And I just asked the guy, I was like, hey, can I do jokes? And he was like, you want to do stand-up? And I was like, sure. And I went up there, and I maybe got one smile, but no laughs. And then I was like, well, there has to be a better place to do stand-up. And the next night I found like a comedy open mic.
Mm-hmm.
I went there and, you know, did 5 minutes of just stuff like off my head. Like, I think I joked about bees. I think I joked about Barney. And I think I joked about a few other things. And people were laughing, and other comics came up to me and were like, hey, that was pretty good. Like, how long you been doing it? And I was like, this is my first time. They were like, no shit. And then just fell in love and I don't know. I do stand up probably 5 or 6 nights a week at open mics or
Oh,
at
wow.
shows or whatever. So
Wow. So is this something that you long term that you
yeah, I plan on doing it long term. I don't plan on being if it happens, if I can get a Netflix special, if I can get on HBO, Comedy Central, dope. But like when I say I genuinely just love doing stand up,
mhm.
that's it. There's something about getting in front of a crowd and they're antsy and they're emotional and sometimes they're riled up and then just doing jokes a certain way and tweaking a joke and maybe switching a punchline or if someone in the crowd is talking shit to people and then making the whole crowd like be on your team.
Right.
I think that's pretty. I mean, I don't know. There's something goofy, but there's something I like about it. So if I become famous from stand up, cool. If I don't, dope. That means I can fish more. So
I was gonna say, because shoot, if doing stand up, that might even open you up to fishing more. But no, that is so cool. That is one of the things, like I was telling you, when we first started, like people always say, like, well, if you had it to do over again, or if you could press the reset button in life, all that kind of stuff. My first answer is always, stand up comic. It's like you said, I enjoy making people laugh, and people in my small circle or like my kids or whatever, just to see them smile or to see someone smile, at work if they're having a tough time, and then you say something crazy and they just start laughing or smiling or whatever. Man, I believe in the power of laughter.
Absolutely.
And I just, I enjoy it. And Chappelle is he's absolutely hands down my favorite comedian. He comes to Atlanta almost every Father's Day. And matter of fact, he was here this past Father's Day and I went to that show. But yeah, Chappelle show is a classic to me. I think Dave Chappelle is probably, like I said, one of the funniest guys ever. He's definitely my favorite comedian, but man, that's pretty cool. Hope that continues to work out for you.
Oh, appreciate it, man. And yeah, I saw Dave Chappelle. He came to Red Rocks Amphitheater here in Colorado, and I went with my friends. And my friends, they knew I was excited to see him, but I don't think I've cried seeing another grown man before. But man, when he came out on stage and he brought out Michael Che, who's Netflix special, who's on SNL, and then he brought out Donnell Rawlings, actually Larry from the Chappelle Show. And they murdered. And then he got on stage with John Mayer and just like I've never seen someone just naturally everything they say is funny. And from doing stand up, I can tell what's structured material and then what's someone just talking and being goofy. And yeah, man, stand up's pretty dope. And you should do it, man. There's no timestamp on it.
Right.
All it takes is going to one open mic and just being like, that felt good. Or maybe it doesn't, which is how I do most of the time, where I'm like, that didn't feel good. But
I don't know. It might be one of those things like you just go and do it without, any kind of thought process. Yeah. Like you're just out one night and it's like, you know what? There's an open mic. I'll get up here. If I do 2 or 3 minutes, if I bomb, I bomb. If I do 2-3 minutes and people giggle, then good,
Yeah.
Now, do you have have you recorded any of your open mics? Like, are they on YouTube or anything?
Not my open mics. I'll record an open mic to listen to the jokes I wrote.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of the time I go to an open mic, new material or whatever. So I'll record on my phone, like the audio of my open mic.
Right.
And then the video, I rarely record video. The only time I record video is if I'm at like a comedy club or it's like a real show that people, because most of the time open mics, people just kind of show up and we try out jokes on them. But at the real show, at the showcase at a comedy club,
mm-hmm.
I'll record video. And I'll record video and just, watch how I use my body language, or if someone says something in the crowd and I joked with them or riffed with them. So I can text you a link to my YouTube stuff. I had to list or link all my YouTube videos because there were some people that I heard a guy say one of my jokes.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, I gotta take these off the YouTube. And so I'll send you the link and you can share it. I just don't leave it open for comedians to,
right,
go snoop around. And I'm not saying I'm good. I'm not saying I'm the greatest, but I think I do have a few quality jokes, and I don't want to see someone that's like be like, that was my joke.
Right. I mean, flattery is the or copying is the ultimate form of flattery.
It's the sincerest form of flattery. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously you're doing something right.
Yeah, but if they're gonna make that's okay until they start making money off of it.
Right.
Since I make
Exactly.
money off of it, then I want some of that flattery too. I
Right.
want some of that.
You want your cut. No,
Yeah.
I don't blame you, man. Eeland, I really enjoyed talking to you and just hearing about these stories of fishing in South Africa and New Zealand. Man, before I get out of here though, let folks know, I know you said about your YouTube, but let folks know where they can find you and where they can follow you at.
Oh man, you can friend me on Facebook, pretty much everyone, and I love seeing new people on my Facebook because right now it's just comedians, and that can get boring because everyone makes really bad jokes. So follow me on Facebook or friend me on Facebook, Eeland Stribling, and then I'm on Instagram as the Black Steve Irwin. It's just Black Steve Irwin, just Black Steve Irwin on Instagram. I don't have a Twitter or anything like that, but if you follow my Instagram, I always post stand-up videos, and next year I'm going to try to work on some cool podcast ideas with fishing and comedy, so check out for that. But otherwise, thanks for talking to me, man. Thanks for inviting me and letting me talk for too long.
No, you were great, man. We'll get you back on here, and once you get some more fly fishing stories and a couple more comedy shows and stuff, we'll get you back on and check in and see how things going.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you.
Thanks, Eeland.
Yep.
Once again, I want to say thank you to Eeland Stribling for joining me on the Bryant Land Country podcast. We had a wonderful conversation, and I hope to get him back on again. In the meanwhile, make sure you check out his Instagram page at Black Steve Irwin. On Instagram, he's got some great pictures of fish. He's got some of his videos from his stand-up on there. Really great follow on the old Instagram. As for me, before I get out of here, I just want to remind you, BryantLandCountry.com has everything Bryant Land on it. Our website, BryantLandCountry.com, has all the past podcasts, has all our videos, has our merch, blog posts, everything outdoors, everything Bryant Land is on our website, BryantLandCountry.com. Thank you again for checking out our podcast. Make sure you're following us on Instagram at Official Bryantland, on the Twitter at 3Bryantland, and on Facebook, Bryantland. Thank you guys for your support. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, and I'll catch you guys next week on another episode of the Bryant Land Country Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Bryant Land Country Podcast, hosted by AB3. Please leave us a positive review and 5-star rating on iTunes. Be sure to check out our podcast section on our website, BryantLandCountry.com, for previous podcasts. Check us out on Instagram at Official Bryant Land and Twitter at 3BryantLand. This has been an AB3 Media production. Join us next time for another edition of the Bryant Land Country Podcast.